Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Refuge Church podcast. Today, we are honoring all those who have provided military service to our country with this special Veterans Day edition of the Refuge Church podcast. So just want to welcome in all of our Refuge Church family and those who are listening from other places, and just excited that you're here with us today. It was November the 11th, 1919, when President Woodrow Wilson initiated the first Armistice Day, and that day commemorated the ending of the First World War, which happened 1 year earlier. And in 1954, then, Congress passed legislation that was signed by President Eisenhower that established Veterans Day in the way that we know it now, and then changed the name from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. And the purpose for that day was to have a day set aside to simply honor everyone who had served in the military in America, whether they were living or dead, and regardless of the branch they served, or whether they served in wartime or peacetime. It's just a day set aside to honor all of our veterans. And so that's what we're doing here today, honoring everybody who served our country in military uniform, because I'll make it clear how we feel at Refuge Church. We love America. We love our country. We're not in any way saying that everything is right and everything America's ever done has been right and perfect, and certainly not always godly. But we love our country. We believe that God had a purpose for America, and that God still has a purpose for America. And a lot of good things have come in and through our nation, and we're thankful for it. And so the Bible is clear that we are to render honor to those whom it's due, and those who have set their lives or a time in their lives aside for any period to devote to the national well-being and placing themselves in harm's way for the sake of their countrymen. We believe that those folks deserve to be honored, because the truth is, without military service, we wouldn't have a country at all. And it's even more crucial for America to have a functioning military, because without a functioning military in America, there wouldn't be freedom. And so we would be living in tyranny, literally, without a military. And so the role of our military and those who serve in it can't be overstated. And so we're grateful. We're grateful for those who have served and who are serving right now. And so helping us honor our veterans today are some veterans from the Refuge family. I'm excited to welcome in Rob Brewer and Bill Vacco and Pastor Will Murphy from our Marktree campus, who is the pastor there. And so welcome, gentlemen, to today's podcast. We're excited to get to honor our military folks, and thank you all for your service to our country. Let's get started by finding out which branch you all served in. Bill, what did you serve in?
The Air Force.
You were in the Air Force. What years were you in the Air Force?
95 to 98.
Okay, great. Will, where did you serve?
I was in the Navy, 2007, 2011.
Okay. Rob?
I was in the Army and from 1972 to 1974.
Okay. All right. I'll not mention that 74 was the year I was born. We'll just leave that part out. But
I seen I was a little older.
Bill, tell me a little bit about what precipitated and came about for you to end up in the Air Force.
I always kind of, my grandfather was a World War II veteran, and my stepfather was a Vietnam veteran, and so I always kind of had that military service, in my family that kind of influenced me. And early in my high school years, I knew that not just grades, but just the way I looked at things, college wasn't going to be for me. So I made the decision pretty early, probably freshman or sophomore year, that, I wanted to do something, but it wasn't going to be college, and, quickly just kind of gravitated towards the thought of military and the Air Force, and that's what I ended up doing.
Did you have any buddies around you that were thinking the same way at that time?
No, not not specifically.
It's pretty much just you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so now, what branches had your family served in?
They were both in the Army.
Oh, okay, they're both Army.
Grandfather was actually Purple Heart recipient in World War II, and then,
Wow.
like I said, my stepfather served in the 1st Infantry in 67 and 68.
So you always had a military awareness?
Yes.
Yes. That's
It was
interesting.
always instilled in me, that was important, and recognizing the sacrifice and of that. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask y'all something about that. Do you think that there's the same level of understanding of the importance of service that there maybe used to be? I know I grew up with it. My dad was Army, and so I was Grandpa was National Guard, and I was instilled at least a respect and an understanding of the importance to me. Does it seem like that still exists? That we understand the importance of somebody serving their country?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think it would be just family by family, right?
Yeah.
My kids, they all joined ROTC. Well, 2 of them did anyway. Joined ROTC, because I was in the Navy,
Yeah.
and so they thought that was, something that they wanted to do. So I think it's there. I think it's just family by family, and kind of the values you instill in your children. And with the way that social media and things are today, there's just a viewpoint on a lot of other things, except for, when I was growing up, we didn't have cell phones. I mean, you could call somebody on a cell phone. It wasn't, so you only had, nowadays they've got so many different cultural things to be involved in that it might not be looked as valuable.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. And in fact, I would just say, if you're a church family member of ours, be aware, be mindful. You may not have been in military service, but just instilling your kids, because I think you make a good point. Our kids are having things introduced to them that we don't even realize.
Right.
They're having viewpoints and perspectives and opinions sewn into them that we don't even think about, and things we might take for granted. The kids think something very different. So if you're a Refuge family member, I would just encourage you to make sure that your kids have an understanding of, I would say, basic civics and government, and and the importance and the awareness of honoring things like serving your country, because I don't think they're coming by that accidentally anymore. I don't think that's not necessarily taught in school. That's not necessarily something they're going to pick up. The values of country and service. I think we have to. I think you made the point. Family by family, we've got to instill that in the kids, or it doesn't come from anywhere.
Right.
So Rob, you had mentioned earlier that you got an personal invitation to serve your country. How did that happen?
Well, first thing, I always say the only time I ever won the lottery, that was it. And so I had a low draft number from that, and so I got my papers, and they said that I had to be in Little Rock on August 24th, 1972, and it wasn't really what I wanted to do, but I mean, just like you said, we felt, hey, that's our duty. We're going to go do it. And so that's what I did, even though I wasn't crazy about it. I still went and done what I was supposed to do.
Now, were there a bunch of other fellows around from where you lived that went?
There was a bunch during that time that I got drafted. There was another guy from Want Ridge that got drafted, and he and I went to basic and AIT together, and we even went to our duty station together.
Oh, really? So you had somebody you knew with you?
But he was probably a half a mile from me, but I mean, we talked quite a bit.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I'd be interested in knowing, Will, where were you stationed during?
A lot of places.
Okay.
I spent a stint in Connecticut for a while for training, and then was in South Georgia in Kings Bay for a little bit, and then ultimately ended up in Virginia at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where were you stationed?
Started in San Antonio, then went to Wichita Falls, finished my training at Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix, then was permanently stationed in Clovis, New Mexico, and then with the the job I had, we traveled some, so I did some temporary duty assignments at Nellis in Las Vegas, Salt Lake City. I went to Iceland for a month.
Tell me about Iceland, because we've talked about Iceland. What was that experience like in Iceland?
It was unreal. It was the most beautiful country you'll ever see, and it was a great experience. Just they called it an Arctic Hawaii, and it's kind of, I mean, obvious now. I was there during the summer when it was a little bit warmer. They said you don't want to be there in the winter, but 23
But
hours.
it's still cold, right? I mean,
it was 40s and 50s, you
Okay.
know, but 23 hours of daylight, and you didn't see the sunset for a month, while I was up there, but just the waterfalls and, the glaciers, and the people were amazing, the Icelandic people, just their culture, it was a beautiful experience that I look back now, and like so much of my military experience, obviously being a younger kid, I was immature and didn't really appreciate, the things I got to see and the opportunities and things like that. And I would love to go back now, and just look at that stuff again, because I was not a Christian at that time. So to go back up there again and look at those waterfalls and those glaciers and look at it as a creation of God now would just be 10 times better.
where were some of the places you were stationed, Robbo?
Well, like when you got drafted, you usually went to Fort Polk. If that was where most of the draftees went from our area.
Yeah.
And so I went to Fort Polk, and then I graduated there, and then went to AIT at Fort Polk. And what they call Fort Polk was Little Vietnam.
Okay.
So what they was doing, they was teaching us to get ready to go to Vietnam, because, that was when it was still on.
Yeah.
And then in December, when we graduated, we just knew that we was going to be sent to Vietnam. But evidently something had already took place. During that time, they stopped the draft. And during that time, they also sort of put a hold on Vietnam. And so I went to Berlin, Germany. I first went to Frankfurt, and then I went on to Berlin, and I spent 18 months in Berlin.
What was that place like?
Germany is a beautiful country too. If you get outside the city, there's mountains, we actually went down sometimes and rode bicycles, and we would ride maybe 40, 50 miles a day, and you would ride up to old churches that had been built just out in the countryside. And they were beautiful. And you seen houses, the houses might be on top, and they'd have a barn underneath with cattle in it. It was a good experience. And then when we trained, being in Berlin, we had to go to West Germany to train. And so twice a year, you went down to Hohensfeld or Grafenwehr. And, there was some things there that was a little crazy. The Germans charged the Americans for every tree they damaged. Like if we were out there in APTs and everything, and if they bumped a tree and they got a scar on it, they paid for it.
Oh, wow.
And so, like Bill said, at that time I wasn't a Christian, and there was some actually, there was a lot of people drank and did everything.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I wasn't saved, but I didn't drink, and I didn't do everything.
That's better. That's good for you. Will, talk to me about, I know there's a lot of folks that in our church and in the world in general, and those watching who haven't served and maybe weren't even related to anybody that served in the military. What's a part of military service that if you weren't in it, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't understand, you wouldn't think about?
Well, I think, a lot of people maybe used to teamwork and things like it, like, football teams or basketball teams. But when you really get in the military, that team kind of becomes family. Mm-hmm. And it's all about one mission kind of thing. And so you bond with individuals, I think, in the military a lot differently than you do in the outside world. just with the level of sometimes the stress of the things that you go through, or the things that you're all dealing with, things that you're not happy about sometimes, right? Like in the military, you go sweep that parking lot, right? And, you sweep the water off the parking lot, and you're out there sweeping water off the parking lot. Well, it's raining outside, right? And you kind of do those things together, and so you have to find outlets, right, while you're doing those things, and those outlets usually have to deal with people. And so you just kind of develop a really deep bond with a lot of the individuals. But I think that you develop a lot of really just good connections. Of course, a lot of times it's you make that connection, then you rip it off because you got to go somewhere else. You got to get moved around. So you're back in it with another group of people, right? Doing the same thing again, developing the same relationships. So I think a lot of those, like, really, I don't want to say trauma bonded, but in a sense, right, you're kind of, you're embracing everything that you're going through together in such a way that no one else will understand what you've probably carried with someone else, right? So.
What do you think, Bill? Some things that you understand what you've been in the military that you can't if you weren't there.
I like what Will said. A lot of that. I feel the same way, and I think, like, even starting out, like, you look at basic training, right? And I know the movies give give people 1 sense or whatever, and you look at the first week. I look at the first probably 2 weeks of basic training, right? We had 50-something guys, and we had guys from, the streets of Brooklyn. We had a guy from Puerto Rico. We had, guys from good families, bad families, and they throw you all together, right? And like Will said, you got to be a team. Well, the first week, it's just, it's chaos because everybody has their own way of doing things, and, there's lots of fighting and arguments and things like that. And then you get to week 2, and you kind of start giving up, okay, maybe my way isn't the best way, and by week 3 or 4, you're starting to bond as that team, and it's awesome. And that's, people see basic training as, this stuff they make you do is dumb or whatever, and that was the whole goal, though, was to get you to learn, like you said, in a short amount of time with people that you normally, wouldn't work with, to work together. And when it starts to come together and it starts to gel, it's awesome. It's like you start looking at the things that you accomplish and the things you're doing together in that short amount of time, and it just, things like that. I look back, I think that was kind of even now, when I look at my mindset on the things were formed in those early years, in the military, whether it be attention to detail or teamwork or, so many different things. And it's a cool experience to go through.
You bring up a good point, though, right? Because it is a cultural melting pot of individuals and different people, and like when you get together, they put you under, it's calculated stress is what it really is, right? And they put you in this. You don't have time to think about your differences, right? You don't have time for that. It's about the mission. It's about accomplishing what you're set out to accomplish, and for instance, Bill might be great at building something, and I might be great at planning something, and so you start learning how to use each other's differences to build on what can we accomplish together, right? And so it's a real cultural melting pot. Like the guy from Arkansas might be good at a few things, and the guy from somewhere else, they might be better at some different things. When it comes to I guess sometimes you get into places where there's a lot of confident people because they're from larger cities. That all plays into how orders of hierarchies are made and this, that, and the other. But when it comes time to somebody shoot a rifle, they're probably going to find some country boy somewhere to show them how to shoot something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just it's just kind of different, and you kind of learn the strengths and weaknesses of each other, and you build that bond together, and you learn from one another.
Yeah. I mentioned the attention to detail thing. Even now, the job I'm in, you can tell the guys that we're military because, I'll say it again, like when you start out in basic training, you think, this is silly. They're making me fold this T-shirt in a small square. I've got to do hospital corners, but what good is this going to do me? And it was all about that attention to detail. And I can tell you, 30 years later, I'm sitting here, and if I'm doing a project, I have that attention to detail. You know, like I'm not gonna cut a corner on this or cut a corner on that. Like that was just something instilled with you, and that was the same way. What they were trying to do is, you know, as your training progressed and, you know, your job progressed, they were trusting you with millions of dollars in equipment, and they wanted to make sure that, you know, you were going to be, you know, trusted and have this attention to detail, you know, in the smallest things. And that was the whole point of it. And, you know, when you look past the general, you know, this is silly to be doing this, there was a reason. And it's funny how it, like I said, 30 years later, it still carries on, you know, that basis that was instilled in you.
Some of that too, though, you think about it, right? Like when you're thinking about the small details of everything to get everything just right, you're probably not thinking about the ultimate mission of what you're accomplishing when you go to do it, right? You know, like the weight of that, right? That gets pushed to the back of your mind because you're so focused on what it exactly is you're doing in the moment and how you have to get in the moment right, you know. I know in the Navy it's that way in a lot of things like battle stations or anything like that. When you're trying to accomplish a specific mission, you have your smaller portion that you need to do the right way to accomplish the mission of what the ship is intended to do overall, right? So
I mean, there is some application for that even in the kingdom of God, right? I mean, everybody knowing I'm focused on what I do, you're focused, we value each other's contributions.
Right.
And know that there's a larger purpose, but we're focused on we're not bearing the whole weight of the whole purpose on us.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Rob, is there something or some things maybe that you'd say that you learned just about life being in the military?
Well, definitely. I mean, you learn. You see a lot of people from a lot of background, you say, and you see a lot of hurting people. And you see people that's messed up on alcohol or messed up on drugs. And I run into a lot of that because there was a lot of them had never been away from home.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, they just went with the flow of whatever was going on. And I mean, I had been out and about a little more than most of them. And then when we got drafted, you know, I mean, one of the big things was they was trying to teach us how when we went to Vietnam to not get killed. They stressed, I mean, because, you know, if you know, you had to learn to shoot, you had to learn to do these things, and if you didn't do them that way, and if you didn't, your buddy's going to be dead.
Yeah.
And, you know, we learned it, then we didn't go there. But I wasn't mad at them for sending me to Berlin.
No.
Actually, I was pretty happy.
Yeah,
and I was glad to see them start moving back out in 1973 because that was a big thing. See, the draft actually quit about the time I went in. I think it's in the last of 72 they quit drafting. There was still, they said that there was like one draftee in June of 1973, but I think the whole majority had been drafted by the end of 72. And I got out of AIT in December of 72, so there wasn't many graduated draftees after that. So, I mean, there may have been a few, and probably a couple classes, but not many.
What do you think, Will, something that carries over from military that's life lesson for you?
There's a few things. I think one of the biggest things was, especially when I went over into the corporate world, right, death by PowerPoint, because I went through a lot of training, and we sat there for a long day, PowerPoint after PowerPoint after PowerPoint. So you got used to sitting in a chair and taking notes and having to learn something, right?
Yeah.
I think I grew up a little bit in the Navy. I grew up a lot in the Navy about things, about having discipline about stuff. I also learned that you know, that I am a capable individual that can do, you know, whatever I set my mind to do. You know, I think that was one of the things that I've learned a lot. And I think the biggest thing is one of my biggest, I guess, takeaways is learning how to make sometimes command and control things, in a sense of like, we have a mission that we're trying to accomplish. What are the things that are important? What are the things that are like we need to get accomplished? And so to be able to reactionarily right? Pick that up and do that quickly and assess situations and what's the best outcome. I've that's been especially in the corporate world, I guess for me in my life has been able to do that, right? How to assess a situation very, very quickly and come up with a solution for what needs to be done.
Yeah, kind of a mindset that kind of gets instilled. That's good. Bill, what would you say you took away?
Again, like I said earlier, learning the attention to detail, the discipline part, working with a wide variety of people, being able to, if something changes quickly, adapt, to the mission, and even that carries over now,
What was your job?
I was a crew chief on F-16 fighter jets.
Okay.
So we basically, you see the guys in the movies waving their hands in front of the airplanes. I did that, but then also we did everything mechanically as far as airframe, engines, basically most of the systems of that aircraft. You were assigned a specific aircraft, and that's what you worked with. So it was for a 19-year-old kid, it was an amazing experience, to stand there at, in front of a $25 million aircraft, knowing that you were responsible. And, I used to tell people all the time, and I still see it now, like when you stood there on the flight line and watched that thing take off and knew that you were, you had a part in the reason it was flying and coming back safely it was an awesome responsibility and just an amazing experience.
I'd be interested in somebody speaking to, maybe everybody speaking to, if we've got somebody younger, or maybe a kid, and they're thinking about, maybe military might be a path for them to head towards. What are some things that they might want to consider and think about that they wouldn't know right now? But if you want to head that way, what would you might you want to consider? Somebody.
Join the Air Force.
If a kid having problems learning to deal with people and is having a problem growing up, the service is the best place in the world you can grow up, because you got to grow up, whether you want to or not.
There's no options.
There's no option. And really even there, I've always had a heart to help people, and I even had the opportunity to do that. And I remember there was a guy in Berlin that he had come in. I said he had never been in the world much, and his name was Mitchell Oglesby, and he had got to be a drug addict there in bad, and he was going down bad, and he had borrowed money from people, anybody, and I always helped him. I'd let him borrow money, but he got an opportunity to go home, and I thought, but he didn't have no money.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, if you'll go home and come back and try to straighten yourself out while you're home, when you come back, I'll let you have till I leave to pay me. And when he come back, it took him all the time, but he paid me, and he did better when he come back.
I think,
Go ahead, brother.
kind of what you alluded to, I look at myself like I needed direction. I didn't grow up in a, like we said earlier, as a Christian, and, I wasn't going to go to college, and, I was struggling to find my purpose or whatever, and when I got there and you had people, you had the discipline, you had a structure, a structural system that was going to keep you mostly in line, and then they're going to teach you a job or, a career. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, these people are trusting me with something, and to have that responsibility and, be trusted with that, it made you want to be better, and when you get to be part of a team, like we spoke on earlier, you didn't want to disappoint your team, and, it was just for somebody who needed direction and, needed a purpose. It was the best thing I could have done.
I was going to say kind of, here's the thing about going into the military. We've talked about it already. The differences in people are so great, and the reasons why they're there and why they're not, or why they wanted to come or anything like that. I would say for me, start figuring out some about who you are before you decide to go. Who you are in the Lord, right? Who you are. And here's the reason why. And because when you get there, you don't want to be a product of your environment.
Yeah.
Right, because you have a very, very high chance of being a product of your environment when you go there, and you're going to be introduced to the stresses of life that you've never experienced before in your life, and you'll never experience again unless something traumatic happens in your life, right? And so I would caution kids today: know the Lord and know who you want to be. Maybe not know what you want to do with your life or anything like that, but have the confidence in who you are before you go.
I wonder how many know the Lord when they go. I mean, like that. When I went in, very few of the people. Actually, I went to church some. There was, we actually was trying to help them smuggle Bibles into East Germany a little bit. But, there was very few, that went to church or I ever seen in church while I was in the service.
I think that's good life advice in general.
Yeah.
Is to come to know who you are in God.
Right.
Before you start making decisions and putting yourself in places.
Right. How are you going to react to things? How do you react to things? How do you, because the military can be a great career for people. Right. Absolutely. I believe that, I had a friend, he was a youth pastor. You know him really well. He joined and became a chaplain, and spent a career in, very high output guy, so it's for people. You just kind of, I think that it would be the best thing to kind of know who you are. And then to the flip side of that, if you have no discipline and you have no outlook and you need to find it, that's the place to go to find it. Because you'll learn it or you won't.
Right.
Or you'll pay the consequences. Because at the end of the day, when you sign that line, you're owned by the United States government.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're either going to do what you're told or you're going to go to jail. Yeah. So that's if y'all want to know what the military is like, that's exactly what it is. Do as you're told, break early, or they'll break you.
Yeah.
In some way.
Do as you're told, or you're going to do as you're told eventually.
Right.
One way or another.
Right.
I'd be interested Rob, what would you have to say? What would you like to say to any veterans that are listening, guys who have served? What would you say to them?
If they don't know God yet, find God before they die.
Yeah.
And, I a lot of the people that I knew, it really did. I believe it helped me to have a heart for people because, you've seen people in Germany, just like here, that was on the street, that they didn't have nothing. And, no one to love them, no one to care about them. And the older people was better to us in Germany than the younger people. Because the younger people had been taught what their buddies said.
Yeah.
But, I just thank God that it wasn't long after I came home that I found the Lord, and it's made a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Will, what would you say to our veterans out there that are listening?
I would say that Rob is, right up the way with, if you don't know God, know God, but also too, for me and I guess Refuge in general, thank you. We appreciate everything that you've done. And And no matter where you're at, God's got a greater purpose for your life than what you know.
Yeah.
And if you give your life over to Him and you listen to that still small voice, He'll protect you and He'll take care of you. And the mission you'll find is a greater one, and you'll serve a greater mission than you ever could know.
Yeah, absolutely. Bill, what do you say to veterans?
I'm just getting emotional, honestly, thinking about it, because we say thank you, and what really does does thank you mean? And I was just telling Pastor Willis last night, I don't know if you call it a hang up or a different outlook on when I served. I didn't serve during time of conflict. So when I know I served and I know I sacrificed my time, but when people say thank you, I didn't go through what some others did at other times. And I look at what they did and what they sacrificed as so much more. And like I said, I look back at my grandfather and then my stepfather, and some of the demons that he fought, that he brought back, and the way he was treated, the way all of those guys were treated when they came back. They came back, and this isn't a brag, but to this day, if I'm in Walmart or a restaurant and I see one of those hats that say, Vietnam veteran, I will stop and I will walk up to them and I will shake their hand and I will say thank you, because they weren't told that back then.
No.
And it is just, thank you is not enough, but that's all we can offer them now. And it's just thank you.
Yeah, I think.
And if I can just say one more thing, I tell people too, I wish now, obviously my grandfather's passed away, my stepfather's passed away, and as we look at that generation who are, getting fewer and fewer, I wish so much that I would have sat down with them and asked them more. I wish now I could know some of the stories and some of the things they did and, the sacrifices they made. And that's not possible anymore. So many of these stories now are going away. And, we talked earlier, does this generation, are they still, that patriotic, or, if we don't pass those on and we don't pass those memories on, that's going to go away.
But I think one thing you said, the demons, there's so much that happened to so many of them people, they didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to tell the stories that they did or what had happened to them, because it wasn't pretty.
No. And I think that's where I kind of want to land the plane on this episode. And I want to say something to veterans. First of all, I'll echo what the other gentlemen have said. Thank you for, regardless when you served, thank you. But also, I wanted to say that there is redemption in the Lord for whatever you may have experienced. The Lord has a way of redeeming that. And I know that a lot of veterans feel lonely, especially if they were in some bad circumstances during service. And I understand there's a lot of that, but I know that that God is real and God knows exactly where you're at. And I know that as far as Refuge is concerned, you come see us and we would love to honor you and pour into you and bless you, but God knows where you're at, and there's redemption that's possible for some of the things that you've been through, all the things you've been through. And but we're grateful for your service and for everybody who served, and we honor it. And you know what? Maybe if you're thinking about it, about serving, maybe you want to, if you're our church, part of our church family, maybe you want to talk to one of these guys or all these guys about it, and just get some perspective. And because we do believe that serving your country is honorable. We still believe that at Refuge, that it's honorable to serve your country, and because you're really serving people. And the Bible says that those who work in the government positions are serving God. They're doing God's work. That's actually scripture. Nobody says that anymore, but that's an actual scripture, and so we're grateful for those who have set aside part of their life or a lot of their life for that purpose. We're grateful for you, and we want to wish you a blessed and peaceful Veterans Day. And so we appreciate all of our guys joining us today, and you for joining us, listening, watching, wherever you are. And just want to say from everybody at Refuge, we hope you have a wonderful Veterans Day, and God bless you.